So, lucky me, I'm here with former Rams head coach Dick Vermeil, and you're in town not on a football-related trip.
No, I'm here to sell some wine. You know, Major Brands is our distributor here in town, and we've had some nice wine functions, sold a lot of wine. We're here at the Lumiere tonight, the casino for a VIP reception, and then a VIP dinner at the Four Seasons, which you know will be outstanding, and they're going to be featuring Vermeil wines. And we're a small winery, and we've come a long ways in 3 years. We're actually going to break even maybe this month, which will be a first. And if we keep up, we'll end up with like an 8-8 season, which would be nice.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Now, see, I thought that once you retired as a head coach, you would just go into television, commentary, that kind of thing. What's up with the wine?
Well, you know, I was born and raised in Calistoga at the north end of the Napa Valley, and I've always had the interest. My friends were interested in wine. My family was. My great-grandfather made wines in the Napa Valley. My grandfather on the French side of the family made all the Vermeil wines, and I grew up helping him as a kid. And so it's always been an interest, and I turned a hobby of making 150, 200 cases of wine since 1999 into a full-fledged business with some friends 3 years ago, and now we have making 4,000 to 5,000 a year of varieties of red and one Sauvignon Blanc in the white vintage.
See, I always think, oh, how fun would it be to make wine, but in reality, I'm guessing it's just a whole lot of work.
It is a lot of work, and you have to know what you're doing. Fortunately for me, I don't have to know what I'm doing. You don't have to know anything, and you can make a contribution to help make it, because there's a lot of labor involved. Mm-hmm. This mad scientist who's making, he can do all that stuff, but no, it doesn't take much to learn how to run a power washing clean, or run a press, or do a pump over, or drive a forklift, or drive the tractor when the grapes are picked, or deliver the grapes to the other wineries and that kind of stuff that with the vineyard we're involved with. But to really the knowledgeable people, the experts that make the wine, you have to know what you're doing.
I like to be on the far end in the drinking of the wine.
Consumption.
That's my niche right there. Yeah. Which styles of wine do you?
We're more of the old-fashioned Napa Valley red. Our vineyard, the Freddie Annie Vineyard's a 170-acre vineyard, which my great-grandfather on the Italian side used to own a portion of it at the turn of the century. Freddie Annie family, very close to me. The lady that runs it, 90 years old, she was my babysitter when I was born 74 years ago, and we get our grapes from there. The average age of a vine on that vineyard is probably 35 to 40 years.
Wow. We
have two Zinfandel vineyards within that block, that one planted in 1956, the other in 1908, you know, right after the earthquake in San Francisco. So the wines are rich, vibrant, and they age beautifully, and they just keep getting better. And we've got a long ways to go to really convince everybody they ought to have it in their restaurant. I was in a restaurant here last night, didn't have Vermeil wines. I needle the heck out of them, believe me.
Well, I hope so.
I did, but there's some people here in town. Lucas Liquor's doing a nice job for us. Some wine shops here in town that are wine merchant in the area here, and the cheese shops some of them are doing our wines. A number of restaurants have our wines, but
which one's your favorite?
Well, my number one favorite glass of wine, regardless if it's Vermeil or not, is the Cabernets. You know, I like the big, heavy, bold red wine and the meals that go along with it to enhance it. But we have it labeled 34 for Super Bowl 34.
Oh, very good.
That is a very nice blend of 3 different Cabernet vineyards for this year. We call it Proprietary Red. It's our number one seller. It's the first bottling of our wines as a business. We made 2,000 cases of it. So we go from 150 cases of Vermeil wine
to 2,000.
To 2,000 in 1 year, in 2008.
That's amazing.
And it's selling really good here. We sold 18 cases of that last night at Lucas Liquor in a bottle signing.
Fantastic.
People like it, and it represents a symbol of a Super Bowl as well. And we're going to keep that 34 label all through, but we call it Proprietary Red because we wanted to reserve the right to blend a different varietal grape each year. The 2000 vintage, the 2009 vintage is different than the 2008 vintage. And of course, this right here vintage is our 2008 34 right here. See, with the Roman numeral 34.
Oh, gotcha.
And anyway, it's a nice bottle of wine. It is a very good buy because it is a blend of 3 Cabernet vineyards. It really is Cabernet. Hard to get a quality bottle of Cabernet for $40.
What? I was just going to ask your price point. So
$40. Yeah.
Right.
And it varies. One place sells it for $39.99. Who are
Sure.
you kidding? It's $40.
Sure.
Yeah.
Coach, you mentioned you said 74. You brought up your age. Is there retirement in your future ever? I mean,
I
you
think it
retired
happens
from
to us
football,
all.
and then you went to commentary. Now you're in winemaking.
I think retirement for me is what happens to all of us. We end up moving on, and I'm just not going to slow down. I think the more active you remain, the more active your brain remains, the more active you remain physically, the better shape you stay in. And I've told this to a lot of people. I've been around a lot of business people who make a lot of money, but the most important investment you should make is in your own personal health. So I still work out, I still weight train and maintain my strength. I'm as strong today as I was 5 years ago in terms of weight machines and that kind of stuff. I believe in that. I was in a business that you sold a philosophy of conditioning, and of course it was a violent combat game, but so I should represent what I believe.
What do you say to players? Because a lot of them, their careers aren't very long, and then you see them a few years later and they are just completely out of shape,
Yeah.
and their bodies do take so much punishment during their career. What do you tell them about trying to take care of their bodies, or how to
It's a good question.
hold that up?
It's a good question. In today's athlete, you see very few that retire that don't remain in good shape. In fact, on the big guy positions, you see many of them 25, 30, 40 pounds lighter than they were, because no more exaggerated weight training and lifting and that kind of, and they slim down, and it startles you. It really does. Now you see a few guys that haven't maintained the discipline, but more often than not, the discipline the athlete had to be what he is and remains in his profile, and he stays in good shape.
Now you have remained in touch with some of your Super Bowl championship players. Who do you talk to, or who do you see the most from that team?
Well, from this team, in communication, I don't know any one guy. From my chief team, it's Trent Green. I had lunch with Kurt Warner in Arizona.
I actually got to see Trent Green play for the Rams. I was at that preseason game where he got it was like, at least we got to see him.
Trent and I communicate about every 2 weeks. A number of my Eagle players, Trent Green's a partner in the wine business. So is Todd Collins, our backup quarterback. They're partners in this business. But the Ram guys, DeMarco Farr, I saw Orlando. There are guys like that. Grant Wistrom, you communicate with from time to time. Marshall Falk from time to time. Kurt Warner from time to time. They do me a favor. I do them a favor. Todd Light, I've seen a number of times now because he's in coaching. So you have reasons to keep your communication going, what to do, how to approach your career, and all that kind of stuff.
I know you were out at Rams Park yesterday.
Right.
How hard is it when you walk away, when you walk out, to not want to get back in it on a daily basis? I would think that the allure would be there.
No question, it's there. If I were younger, I would have never left it. Okay. So at my age, I recognized when I left the Chiefs that when I was tired at that age, at 69 years old, that my mind didn't work really good. And the problem with being an NFL football coach is that you're always in a state of being tired, because the hours are long, and the older you get, the harder it is to catch up. And we all forget things anyway as you get a little bit older, but as you get very tired, it's magnified. And I just felt, somebody younger should be being paid what I'm getting paid to do a great job. That mine is still really good, even when you only got 3 hours sleep.
After all those years of all those long hours and being away from home, how difficult was it for your wife to transition to your retirement?
Well, I'll tell you what she says to me. She says, I thought retirement was going to be different than it is. She says, who you kidding? You're not retired. I'm on the road right now for 3 days, and she's home alone. Now, she could have come with me, but she's just ornery enough from time to time to say, I'm staying home, I'm tired of traveling, No, my whole career was tough on her, but she was the best assistant coach I had. She's fed all my players all through the years. She was really involved with the players' wives, our coaches' wives in our communities, especially so in Kansas City. after all our own kids are raised, that if you don't have an understanding wife, like people say, what's it like to be married to a football coach? And she says, I was married to him when he was a college student. She didn't know any different.
Right, yeah.
Didn't know any different. So.
Yeah. What do other people do? We don't know.
Yeah.
What do you think about all this situation that's gone on with the NFL this season, with the lockout and the players? And tell me your thoughts about the whole mess. I call it a mess.
I personally believed it would get resolved by the time they go to training camp, and it did. I would have liked to seen it get resolved in a way that they didn't put restrictions on coaches coaching. When you put every coach working within the same time frame and the padded practice philosophies and all that into one mold, it makes it hard for a coach to take over a losing program and catch up. You weren't as good as the teams winning last year. Now you've got a new coaching job and you can't work them harder to catch up. You have to rely on drafts and getting better players to catch up and doing a better job within the time frame. But I really don't believe that we would have won a world championship in 3 years under the new restrictions. No way would they allow me to work 3 hours a day, twice a day in pads, or work in pads 3 days a week all through the season for 2 years. Now we didn't do that when we finally got to where we thought, hey, it's time to back off and do things differently because we're as good as we're going to be right now.
Right, but when you're in that building
you're in that building, I just don't believe that you can work less and get better. That's all there is to it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, it looks like you've got your work cut out for you now, and I'm guessing you take that same philosophy to your winery that you had on the field.
Well, I don't work 7 days a week at it.
Well, I would hope not.
And it's in the Napa Valley, and we do go out there. We're out there 2 weeks in July. We'll be out there 2.5 to 3 weeks in September during the crush. The trouble is with going to the Napa Valley during the crush is Mother Nature doesn't always cooperate with my travel plans. I've been out there too early, and I've been out there too late. Last year, I was out there the last 10, 12 days of September and the first 12 days of October, and the real crush didn't get going until the end of October, November.
Oh.
So you never know, but we still have a great time.
Awesome. Coach, thank you so much for taking a few minutes with me today. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
It was great to meet you.
Thank you. My pleasure.